Yeah.
Well, when we were down there, we were helping finish off some of the dorm buildings for a camp, and it was fun because after we were done working and things, we found some scrap wood and we just got together and started building some cornhole boards for um, Lily and Eric there. I guess they didn't get around to it. They had the bags already made, so it's good we got there, and we built those for them. And actually, the night before we left, we went inside since it was raining outside, and we put the boards up and we were playing at like 12 o'clock at night because our flight was at like 4 in the morning, so there wasn't really a point in sleeping. So we were just playing. I did get a few hours of sleep, but yeah.
All right. Hey, what did you think of the climate, Elijah?
Oh yeah. It was basically like Pennsylvania weather, just fall. It was like the summer there is probably the same, a little bit cooler, but yeah.
Yeah.
I said, well, when I was down there, I said I could live there because it's pretty much the same. There's mountains all around. It's
Yeah.
really similar to Pennsylvania, so.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, thank you, Elijah. Appreciate you sharing just a little bit here. I challenged him to do that, and so thank you for sharing. Yeah, the culture, Elijah was like, hey, I could live here. I could live here, you know, and it's just beautiful, beautiful place that we were able to be there. The culture was nice and comfortable, like what it is for us right now. Actually, cooler than what it is here right now. It got up to about 73, 74, something like that every day, and it was sunny. It's just beautiful weather for us. You don't necessarily want to go there in the winter if you don't like winter. Now, if you like winter, that's cool. That's cool. But their winters are about 8 months, I guess, and so it's pretty cold up there in the mountains. Up there in the mountains, which is where Josh and where Eric and Lily and of course Josh and Ruthie and Ella are as well. So this is my roommate here, and what's her? They're not. I don't know if this was, I don't know where they had that picture, but I asked him for a picture. I said, can you give me a picture of your family? And he said, well, I don't know if I have one. Here it is. So that must have been a trip they had taken to the coast or something like that. That might be the Black Sea there, but they are a little ways away from there, quite a ways away from there. So maybe a trip down there. So Eric called, or my other roommate Ryan called me and said, we want to take a trip to help Eric Schrock and help him to build or to finish off some buildings that they're putting together at a camp. And so he called me, and there was like 6 weeks before they were going to take off for this trip, and it seemed to me that maybe the Lord was opening a door, and I didn't see a red light or a closed door, and so I thought, all right, well, we'll charge ahead and trust the Lord. And so sure enough, God put things together for us. We were able to get our passports, and the Lord provided the finances. I told Eric after we had gotten there, and Ryan, that I really didn't have all the finances in order until about a week before the trip. And they were like, whoa. But you know, God provides, and He meets the needs, and so I'm very grateful for that. Money is no object to God. It is a big one for us, but what He wants us to do, He'll finance, and so He did. He met the need for us. So let's see if I could get my clicker working here. Can I have power? Give me. There we are. Okay, so here's Romania, and right there in Europe. It is a European country. You can see how close it is to Ukraine here, and I don't know if that's going to work. But anyway, Ukraine just to the north and to the east of Romania, and there's Moldova there as well. But we flew in to Germany, so it was an 8-hour flight from Dulles Airport in Washington to Germany, and then from Germany, then we flew to Romania. That was only about a 2-hour flight going down to Romania there. So we flew into Bucharest. There it is. That's the capital city. You can see the mountains. I tried to get a map that would kind of show some of the mountains. So Bucharest is down in the plain, down near the coast there. But you have mountains, and we ended up driving up here to Brasov, and that is through the mountains, and you can kind of see the mountain range kind of loops around there. And so we had to drive. It was about a 4-hour drive up through there. And wow, the mountains that we drove through, that was really incredible. But we'll get to that in a minute. Here's the crew. We're in the airport at Dulles, and we're getting ready to fly. My friend Ryan, my roommate, took the picture for us here. So going around there, of course, Ryan down here in the corner. Above him is Haley. Haley is 20 years old. She is from Minnesota. She actually flew to West Virginia to join this trip. And she's taking a gap year right now, and I'm not sure. I think she has plans to go to Bob Jones University. So she joined us. And then next to her is Ryan's wife, Elizabeth. And then next to her, a seat away, is another couple. We have Brenda and Joe. Brenda and Joe are a part of Ryan's church. They went with us. And then, of course, you see myself and Elijah down at the bottom. So that was the whole crew. Ryan was hoping for a few more, but it didn't quite work out for some folks to go. And that's all right. The Lord has all these things figured out. So that was the group. This was the first view that I had of Romania. It doesn't look too much different from the air than it does around here. But the farmlands, things like that. We finally got there after 8 hours. So that's that's a long time. I think it was about 12, 14 hours altogether. And we were ready to land and be done. So I was sitting next to Ryan there. The funny thing is, Elijah got his seat was always somewhere else. The rest of us were all together, but Elijah was somewhere else on the plane. And so he got to just relax without being around us, I guess. But anyway, we finally made it. We got there, and this is Eric Schrock now. And he's going to drive us the 4 hours up through the mountains from Bucharest to the camp where we would be staying and working. Along the way, we saw a lot of these churches. Now, this is an Orthodox church, and this would be the main religion of Romania. It is similar to a Catholic church, a lot of form and ritual, and just a lot of tradition. And it's a challenge to help people to trust Jesus and not the church. They just want to trust the church. They want to trust the traditions of the church. And just like a Catholic faith here and even other faiths, if you turn away from that, you're turning away from your family. And in Romania, it's also like a patriotic thing. If you're patriotic, then you're a part of the Orthodox Church. And so there's a lot of hindrances to the gospel there, not just family ties and the seeming security of the Orthodox Church, but then also the patriotism. If you turn from Orthodox Church, then it's almost as though you're turning on your own country, turning against your own country. So it's a real challenge for them. Yeah. No, they speak Romanian. Yep. So they speak a different language. A few of them spoke, which I'll get to in a minute here, because we were dependent on that. Yeah. So this we saw a lot of different buildings. Here's and I just kind of took a quick shot. Eric is a fast driver. They drive quick in Romania. Anyway, so this is an abandoned building of some kind of factory. And there were evidences of communism everywhere, where there'd be big buildings, apartment buildings, just vacant, just standing around. and there was just a lot of that evidence of that former communist state, and so it was interesting to see all of that. Here's a big mountain. We're driving down the road. We got stuck in traffic, and I couldn't get a picture of the mountain. I said to Ryan, who was sitting in front of me, hey, get a picture of this mountain. It's just beautiful. And so while Eric was driving, he actually jumped out of the car, took a picture, and hopped back in. But beautiful mountains, and all these little towns along the road, they were all ski towns. That's the big thing. Along this road, anyway, they're just ski towns everywhere. And so here's a telephone pole. It's concrete. Everything's concrete there. The telephone poles are concrete. The buildings are concrete. Everything's concrete. They'd rather use concrete than wood. Evidently, it lasts longer, I guess. I was thinking, maybe we ought to try that here. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, we finally arrived. Here's the camp now. This was one of the buildings, and we're getting settled in here. And we had just gotten out after the 4-hour drive. Here was the building that they wanted us to work on. And so you see, this is insulation on the outside of this building. It looks like wood. It's not wood, it's insulation. They actually tack the insulation on the outside of the building, and then they cover that insulation with a, the brain's not going to work right now. Well, it's not, it's like stucco, kind of. So plaster, And I'll show you that a little bit more. Here's the mountain just behind that building. Beautiful, beautiful mountain, just incredible. And would often be snow-capped, but it was just an amazing sight to see. Beautiful weather. That night, we were stretching our legs a little bit. We went down to the creek and just kind of played around a little bit, skipped some stones, and just relaxed a little bit. That was Saturday night that we got in there. And we were trying to stay awake because we had been traveling all day, but we knew we needed to sleep and then get up in the morning for church. And so we were staying awake. We played some volleyball that night, had a great time playing volleyball with some of the folks that were there, even though we couldn't necessarily talk to them. But everybody knows how to play volleyball, or most of us did anyway. So we had a good time doing that. Yeah. Yeah, right. Uh-oh, I lost my clicker. Come back to me. Come back. Is it working? Did it go? Okay. This might be a video here. This is church the next day. So let's go. There we go.
Aleluia. Dimineața aceasta avem motiv de mulțumiri și de rugăciuni. We're going to have our prayer time. We're going to share some praises and prayer requests. Dacă aveți motiv de rugăciune, să gândiți acum, să spuneți. Mulțumim lui Dumnezeu pentru toți care au.
If you didn't understand what he said, that's okay, because neither did I most of the time. But he would throw in a couple of English words every now and again, just for those of us that were there, so we would know what was going on. So here is one of the songs that they were singing. Let's go ahead and play that. Okay, we had the songbook. That was so nice that they gave us a songbook, but we had no idea. We started figuring some things out, though, so that was good. Let's go on to that next one, Elijah. There's the right after the church now, and actually, let me just talk a little bit about that church service. So we had a prayer time, and everybody stood for the prayer time, and they stood for. They sat for the songs, they stood for the prayer time, and all the prayer requests, were all standing, and then they prayed, and several people prayed, and it was really neat just to hear folks praying. And then after that, Eric invited me up to preach. And so I got the little podium there and did the best I could to keep my focus. And so I'd share a little bit, and then the translator would share a little bit, or as Eric called him, the interrupter would share a little bit, and just back and forth and back and forth. I preached from Galatians chapter 5. We were talking about the Spirit and how if ye live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. As it turns out, that is an issue that they were dealing with. Several people came up to me and through a translator were telling me that this is a big issue in Romania. There are several churches that have a lot of false teaching on the Spirit, on the Holy Spirit. And so I was talking about the filling of the Spirit and the baptism of the Spirit, and how if we are baptized in Him and walking or live in the Spirit, then we are also to walk in the Spirit. That's to be filled in this, with the Spirit. Anyway, it was so neat just to hear folks come to me and say, thank you. This is exactly what I've been thinking about, what we've been dealing with, and it was very helpful. And so sometimes you think, does anybody even understand what I'm saying? Because it's really hard. When I'm used to preaching and I'm used to, at least getting some kind of response, at least people are looking at me like, oh yeah, I understand. But it was kind of like they were hardly looking at me. They were looking at the translator, I mean, some of them were looking at me, but anyway, the Lord used it, and we're grateful for that. And Eric was telling me, you were speaking in tongues this morning. I guess I wasn't I? In that context, right? And we think about it in our context, somebody else speaking another language, but there, I was the foreigner. I was speaking in a different language, and we did it biblically. We had an interpreter. Okay, after church then, Eric went and changed his clothes. He said, we're gonna have this barbecue. He said, and I'll ruin all my clothes. Lily won't like that. So he changed his clothes, and they cooked a lot of meat. And it's amazing, in Romania, the food, there's just so much meat, a lot of meat there. If you don't like sausage, or then you're going to struggle in Romania, because they eat it with everything. Sausage and anyway, just a lot of meat. So he was grilling some chicken, and then after he finished all that chicken, then he grilled a whole bunch of sausage and all sorts of different kinds of sausage, and then they threw in some potatoes and other things like that later on, and we had a great meal together. A good time of fellowship right there at the camp. And I don't think my clicker's going to work, so Elijah can move me on to the next one. So here we are, eating our noon meal at the table there. Let's go to the next one. Here's Elijah at another table. And so there was probably about 30 people, maybe a little more than that, maybe 40 there on Sunday. And so there were several people from the camp as well as from Eric's church that had come to the camp. We had our church service right there at the camp. And so everybody just kind of migrated there for the church service on Sunday, since we were going to be working right there. All right, on to the next. So here's Eric in the afternoon. Then we had an afternoon service. So after the meal, everybody kind of gathered together in the dining hall there, and we had the evening service. And so Eric started off with our prayer time again. And then after that, we sang some songs. I think we got a song here, the next one. Let's play that. Sorry, I stopped it too early. But anyway, you know that song? Okay, so they were so nice to us. We had recognized the song. They were singing in a different language, and Eric said, let's sing it again in English. And so there were all these Romanian people that they didn't know what to sing, so they just started singing in Romanian, and we were singing in English. And so if I knew the song, then even if they were singing Romanian, I was just singing English, the words that I knew, and it was a great time fellowshipping together and singing together. All right, so our next slide here. There's my friend Ryan. Now he's preaching.
Afară de sub umbrelă nu mai sunt protejați.
That sounds very simple,
Sună foarte, foarte simplu,
but many times we forget this about God's protection.
dar de cele mai multe ori uităm de protecția aceasta a lui Dumnezeu.
We choose whether to be under His protection or not.
Noi alegem să fim sau să nu fim sub protecția Lui.
So we will see two kings that made two choices.
Și o să vedem doi regi care au făcut două alegeri.
The translator there was just a great guy. He's actually a police investigator. And so he knew some English and did a wonderful job translating for us. He translated for me as well, and we appreciated his ministry. All right, let's go to the next one. Here's the next day now. This is Monday, and you can see the insulation against the wall there. Our job, we had to fill in more insulation along the top, so we'll keep going here. Oh, hey, I think my clicker might work. I'll see if I can try it here, Elijah. So there's some insulation sitting there. We're on the top of the scaffolding. We're the third level up there, and looking down at everybody else. I saw Elijah down there. I said, Elijah, strike a pose. He did a good job. So here's Elijah on the inside of the building. Now he's working on all of the mud work, and it started off for both of us kind of rough, learning some of the things. But by the end of the week, we were both experts. Elijah did an excellent job. Here we're mixing the mud, and my friend Ryan must be working on his, I don't know, his ballerina moves or something. Funny guy. Anyway, so we're up there. You can see now we're putting this covering on the outside, this stucco on the outside, right on the insulation. Just slap it right on. And it took us a little while. Here's the setup. So my friend Ryan at the top, I'm in the middle, and my other roommate Eric is on the bottom. Now, if you're working with mud, you don't want the bottom. And Ryan was at the top. He was doing a good job up there. I got a few drips on my arms and my head and everything else. I had it in my hair. But poor Eric on the bottom was getting it all. It was all coming right down to him. But we worked our way across, and that was the goal there. Elijah, being the tallest in the group, was doing the ceiling work. He did great right up there at the top. And so he learned really well. They called him the master mud maker, and he did that. He did really well with that. Doesn't that look like a Frosty? It's not. It's not. That's a stucco that we're putting on the outside of the building. Now, if you're thinking, boy, a missions trip sounds like a lot of adventure. Sounds really, really exciting. This was the view for most of the week for me. Okay? I'm looking at Ryan's feet right in front of me, and I'm trying to work around him. And I thought, I got to get a picture of this. And it really brings me to this issue. A missions trip, the purpose, the design of it is to serve and help the missionary. It's not for a vacation. It's not for adventure. It's not for excitement or whatever we can gain. But it is to serve. And that's what we were doing all week long. Our muscles were aching. We were worn out. We were tired. But we were there to serve. And that's what we did. And so while I have a lot of pictures of some exciting things, this is mostly what I saw all week long as we served together. All right, there's Elijah. Good smile on his face, a mountain in the background there. Here is I kept hearing these horses going down the road, and so this is actually a group of, what's the word, Elijah? I'm missing the word. Anyway, some folks here that are kind of transient, and I'm losing the word, but they have their horses instead of here in the United States, at least in Pennsylvania, we have the Amish and they've got their horse and buggies. Well, they have regular tires on their wheels, and gypsies, that's the word I was looking for. And they're all over the place. And so I just kind of took a quick picture of them. There's the food. So one of the first days we sat down at lunch, and they brought us this bowl of soup. It was so good. I had 2 bowls. It was so good. And then they started bringing more food. Come to find out, the main meal is the noon meal. So they kept bringing, it was like a 5-course meal for lunch, and I had already filled up on soup, and then, oh no. But we had some great food. This might look familiar. It's very similar to Pennsylvania Dutch kind of food. So there's mashed potatoes, and this is, would we call it pigs in a blanket? But that's what it was. Some sausage wrapped up with some rice in there, and that was cabbage leaves wrapped around that. But great food. The dessert, I forget what this was called, but woo, that was good stuff. I'm surprised I didn't gain weight. We had really good food. This is Wednesday night now. Our church. Yeah, I didn't weigh myself. So now this is after the Wednesday evening meal. We had our evening Bible study. This man, his name is Virgil. He is a pastor, has been a pastor for 20 years of a little gypsy church. And so he didn't speak any English at all. He was one of the main electricians on the job. But you could tell his heart for the Lord. He just loved us, loved the Lord. And so he stood right there and shared the word with us, and what an encouragement he was to us. I think it was Eric that was translating there for him as he shared the Bible study with us. But special man. I look forward to seeing him again someday. All right, Thursday then, Eric said, all right, you've been working all week. Let's take the afternoon and do some things. And so he took us just to do a little sightseeing. And this is actually a castle in the background, and we were able to see that. They call it Dracula's Castle. We didn't see Dracula, but this is in Transylvania. That's what they call it. And so we were there and saw that. It was pretty impressive, pretty neat to see. We did. Yeah, we went inside, and a lot of. What's that? Yeah, Eric told us, he said, you might want to bring some garlic. It's kind of funny because he did tell us over the last couple of years they had really, made a big deal of that. And so there were a couple of rooms where they had set up some spooky stuff in there or whatever. But it was interesting to see that. And that castle's built right in this, between these 2 mountain ranges. They kind of come together, and it's this one pass that goes through. And an ideal place to defend. It was pretty good. So then we went to another town. Let's see, what's that say? Brasov, I think. I can't read it. The names all blend together for me. We went here because Eric wanted to show us this church. It's called the Black Church. Up in the top, you can see that the steeple is kind of dark there because it had been burned. They never repaired it. They just left it charred, and so it became known as the Black Church. This church was built in the 1300s. It was built as a Catholic church. In the 1500s, after the Reformation, they turned Lutheran. They had a bunch of statues and images in the church that in the 1500s, when they turned Lutheran, they tore them all down. And you could see where they had these images at one point, and they were all destroyed. But beautiful building, and it was really impressive to see. I think they still have services there, though they are pretty ecumenical. After that, we had dinner, and he took us down. I mean, just classic European kind of setting there. You can see, you know, all the little shops and things like that, and a lot of people walking around. So we had supper at this, Eric described it as a Romanian take on an American burger place. And we had some pretty interesting burgers. You'll have to ask Elijah about the burger that he had. What was that called? It was the gangsta. The gangsta burger. Okay, anyway, we had a great time together. All right, this is Friday then. We finished the building. We had come all the way across, you can see. So here's what it looked like before. And now we've come all the way across and covered that entire side. Somebody's got to go around the whole way. And it was hard to leave knowing that there was so much work left to be done. But we were able to accomplish a lot on the outside. On the inside, Elijah did a lot of mud work, got a lot done. And we were able to finish it right before the rain came. It was beautiful weather all week long. This is a picture of that mountain, but you can't see it because of the clouds. See, there it is. And here's what it looks like. The clouds are rolling in. It's getting ready to rain, and it did. It poured, but we were able to get it done. So here I am with my two roommates from college. Eric, the missionary, Ryan Colley, the pastor down in West Virginia. And it was such a blessing to spend time with them. You just never know where the Lord's going to take you and when you serve Him. And so the connections that I made at that college, serving the Lord together down there, now to serve the Lord again with these guys was such a blessing. What a blessing it was to me personally. And one of the reasons that I went on this trip was to explore the relationship that Ryan had with his missionary, Eric. And I wanted to see, what can we do as a church? How can we as a church better support our missionaries? I was talking with Sandy earlier today, and she was mentioning how it really, our church has come a long way, and we're getting to know our missionaries better. And of course, with the support, it's amazing what we're able to do to support our missionaries. But missionaries need more than just money. Oh, I forgot to show you. I brought some money. Here's a lei. That's about 25 cents right there. But anyway, they need more than money. They need some other kinds of support. And so I was asking a lot of questions and talking with Ryan and talking with Eric, and I was just so impressed with the relationship that they have with each other. Here's a couple of things that I've taken away from it that I really want to emphasize more and more in our church. Missionaries need regular communication. Sometimes we read their prayer letters, or we don't. Or sometimes we might complain that we don't get enough letters from them. But the reality is, or rather, here's a question: how many letters have we sent to them? And how often do we call them? And how often do we try to get in touch with our missionaries? And it was something just impressed on me that we as a church can do better with communicating with our missionaries, sending them letters, cards, calling them, doing video chats, getting their number on a messaging app like WhatsApp or something like that, and just sending them a message saying hello, I'm praying for you. I think in our small groups we could try to reach out with these missionaries, maybe even have a little video chat or something like that, and communicate more regularly with our missionaries. They need that support. They need to know that we love them, we care for them, we're praying for them, and we're interested in what they're doing. Something else that missionaries need is pastoral care. And Ryan was sharing this with me, and as was Eric. Eric was sharing that he was going through there in Romania some challenges. Eric's his wife Lily, her brother had just gone through some real challenges and was found to be in sin. They actually had to discipline him out of the church. I mean, that's horrible. That's hard. It's hard on a pastor. It's hard on a church. How about on a missionary that's totally isolated from their family and friends in the States? It's important that they get the pastoral care. And so Ryan was sharing with me that some of the purposes for their missions trips is just for Ryan and his wife, or maybe one of the other men in the church, to just go visit the missionaries and meet their needs and help them and pastor them. Help them with their emotional needs. Help them with their spiritual needs that they have. Pastoral care is an important part. How can we support our missionaries that way? Something else is short-term help. And of course, Elijah and I just went on this trip. There are building projects, VBS, trainings, things like that. What else do I have? Medical help, and all sorts of needs that missionaries may have. We don't go to get or to experience, we go to help. And so a short-term trip is to help. How do we know what help they need? Well, only if we're in communication with them. And so we need to know how they're doing. If we don't have that communication, we don't know how we can help them on some of these short-term trips. One of the other things is hospitality for when they're in the U.S. They come here and they need a lot of support when they're here. They don't necessarily need to be entertained, but they need support while they're here. They may not have a car. They may not have a place to live. They may not be able to secure meetings. They might need help with their children. There are things that we can do. In fact, let me just share this, and I know our time is going here. We'll have our prayer time shortly. But I was on the phone with Ian Torres this week from the Philippines, and I talked with him for an hour on the phone this week. And his plan is to come to the U.S., but he has virtually no help to do that trip. I think it could be a great opportunity for our church to help Ian and Marilyn, who are nationals from the Philippines, to help them while they're here in Pennsylvania. You know, maybe we could help them find a place to live for a month while they're here. Maybe we could help them with some transportation or securing some meetings while they're here. I mean, as nationals, they don't have hardly any contacts here in the States. They just don't. So that's one way that we can support and help our missionaries. And so there's a lot for us to do, more than just giving. More than just giving in the offering. There's a lot that we can do. And there's so much more that we could say about missions trips and how to support missionaries. I wonder, does anybody have a question or thought that